morning, everyone. My name is Sue Redmore, and I am the host for the 2018 Partner Product Webinar Series. And today I'm very happy to welcome Richard Kay, VP of Sales for North America at Ocean Data Systems. And Richard will be presenting Dream Report. And before I hand over to Richard to do the presentation, I just have some housekeeping items. All lines are muted until through the duration of the webinar. There will be a feedback and Q&A at the end of the presentation by Richard, and we welcome all questions either put into the chat box or into the Q&A. Post-event, all registrants will receive a link by email to the zip file which is posted on the AVEVA team website. This will include the webinar recording, PDF of the presentation, and other materials provided by Ocean Data. So I'd now like to hand over to Richard to start the presentation.
Thanks, Sue. Sue, just checking, can you hear me?
I can hear you very clearly.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you all very much for joining us this morning or this evening, this afternoon, wherever you're located in the world. Today we're going to be talking about Dream Report. Dream Report is the reporting and dashboarding solution by Ocean Data Systems. We are a Wonderware endorsed partner product, have been for many years. And today I'd like to talk to you about Dream Report in the context of Wonderware and beyond just Wonderware, really reporting and information in the industrial space. So let's really just get to the point of this presentation, is that, let's face it, if your customers are using if your customers are using business intelligence tools, traditional business tools, there really is a better way to do things in the industrial space. They're probably spending too much time mining data, writing SQL queries, interacting with IT folks to try and get to their data. And really, there is a better way to do this. We've talked to customers, we've looked at the competition over the years, and the problem really is that these tools are not designed and optimized for the kind of data and the kind of systems that you, and of course your customers by extension, are dealing with on a daily basis. Dream Report really is purpose-built for industrial automation, and hopefully what we'll see over the next hour or so is that you'll see all the features and the functions and the capabilities of Dream Report that set it apart from those more business-focused tools that customers over the years have just accepted as the way they have to do things to make sense and get to their data. So let's take a look at a number, 85%. We really have estimated by talking to people and just doing surveys that about 85% or so of our customers out there or users out there in the market are applying business tools for industrial applications. And when we asked why, the answer is always more or less the same. We didn't know there was a better way to do things. We didn't know there was an alternate way. You know, it's in a database. We've got Crystal or whatever it is, reporting services. We've learned SQL, and that's the way we're working with it. But really, there is a better way. Let's take a little bit of a look at a history timeline with how data has got beyond the plant floor. So, most of the time we're talking about HMIs, PLCs, what the operator is experiencing. But really, let's talk beyond that, getting the data out of the plant floor or beyond the plant floor to folks, whether it's in the compliance area, production reporting, really anyone who needs the data beyond the operator. Looking at the history of it, back in the 80s, Microsoft Excel was introduced on Windows. This was great, multitasking or semi-multitasking operating system. And more or less around the same time, this first Windows-based HMI product, Wonderware InTouch, was released, great product. And it also included a technology called DDE, and its variants, DDE, Fast DDE, etc. Many of us who are working with HMIs back in those earlier days probably remember taking DDE pokes and taking values from our InTouch tags and poking them into an Excel spreadsheet. And we were so excited to have a report, if you will, in Excel versus just a dump of raw data, which was really all that was possible before then in flat files out of our PLCs or HMIs. Then Microsoft introduced ODBC, and really that opened up a lot more to the world in terms of being able to get data into a database format, and then of course take it out of a database format using this open standard called ODBC. So that gave rise to many of the business tools which are still in existence today, things like Crystal Reports, some of the early ones. What did we have back then? There was Paradox and there was DBase and some of the other reporting and SQL type tools. And then obviously a little later, SQL reporting services was introduced. All good tools, nothing wrong with them at all, but really not designed for industrial applications, but that's what we had. OPC, again, released later in the 90s, opened up a lot more because then now we had some tools that could actually take data directly from the process control systems, again, pumping them into SQL databases. And really, IT almost had to own that because of the complexities and of the nature of SQL and having to write SQL queries. And so ODBC-focused tools have really been the status quo since then. And so really, it's no surprise that, say, 80+% of users out there still think that's the best way to do things because that's the way it's been done for so long. But really, what is the problem with that? First of all, traditional tools are hard to use. Well, hard to use, I mean, really, that's a relative term, but really depends who you are. You know, if you're a process control engineer or a field technician and your job is to run a process or run a plant, your job is not to write SQL queries. Your job is not to architect SQL databases. Okay, so we need a tool in our end users' hands that are going to be a lot more productive for them and provide immediate value. Traditional tools don't understand industrial data, and this is really one of the key differentiators which people really don't consider when they start pumping data into traditional SQL databases. I mean, even the fact that when Wonderware introduced really the first process historian that looked and felt like a relational database, but really could handle this time series data, that was so key to everyone out there because now you had a system that could really store this process data, time series data, high volume, highly compressed, in a format then that these other tools could kind of get to, which was nice, but you still had to know how to really extract and slice and dice the data. So that's where our friends in IT departments came in. Ultimately, they still own the domain. I mean, over the years working for a Wonderware distributor for many years, and even beyond that now, is that you still see people requesting data from their IT folks. Can you get me this? Can you get me that? They've got other priorities. Normally, they're reporting to the finance folks, so that's where their priorities lie. And then they send you the data back. Is it what I wanted? No. Can you tweak this query? And can you change this time period or give me this or that? And so it's really a painful, reiterative process where really all you want is the data so you can move on and do what you need to do. And that's where you guys come into, process control engineers and as distributors working with end customers and SIs. Process engineers need configurable tools. You know, they're used to building HMIs, very productive environments. They're not writing Visual Studio Code or C# to write HMIs. Heck, you could do it, but would you? No. There's a better way to do things on the HMI side. Likewise, on the reporting side of things, we need easy-to-use tools, get results quickly. We expect automation, meaning that things are triggered on their own. We shouldn't have to, you know, if you would think of, I need to run a script every time somebody pushed a button. We don't need that. We don't want that in industrial application. We need condition scripts and data change scripts when certain things occur. Likewise, we need our reports to be smart, generated when they should be generated, and provide contextual information as opposed to just big raw queries and they're sifting through lots of data to try and figure out what's going on with our processes. So let's take a look at an example here. Payback. How do you justify an industrial or a business intelligence solution at all? Most of the time, you know, when you look at payback, the payback comes in many forms. Oftentimes, it just requires a leap of faith from the user that the data that they're going to get back is going to be enlightening enough to improve, to drive improvements, you know, reduce costs, improve quality, etc. However, your payback might come. Dream Report certainly offers those as a strong argument, but there's another very unique payback exposed through Dream Report, and it's even easier to calculate, and that's the payback of time. If you think about how much time people in a plant spend, you know, every day searching for data, looking for things, trying to understand what's happening, It really is a lot of time if you extrapolate it, so that, say, over the course of a year. Even 10 minutes a day, probably by an engineer, paid engineer who's out in the plant, over $1,000 a year, you could very easily associate the cost of that. Typical Dream Report application, tens of 10 plus reports in an application, and really across multiple users taking advantage of those automated reports. Time is just a huge dollar, translates into a huge dollar saving every year. So with that, of course, you can react quicker, you can reduce downtimes, you can improve productivity, etc., and drive continuous improvement. So what at a minimum then do you need in an industrial business intelligence solution? We're not talking just generic business focus, but really the ones that make the life of your plant technicians, your process control engineers, your plant folks. What are the minimum requirements they need in a world-class reporting and analytics solution? First of all, open and direct connectivity to all of their data sources. Okay, being able to connect to a SQL database is not enough. Okay, so having connectivity into all of the data sources, whether it's directly to the PLCs and the HMIs or the SCADA systems for real-time values, real-time alarms, that's key. Being able to connect to process historians, and not just connect to the historians, but really understand the nature of the historian's data. It's not transactional business data, it is high-speed, high-volume, time series data. Really, you have to have a solution that can handle that type of data very differently from more transactional or business data. And of course, data doesn't exist in a vacuum, so you do need to be able to connect to non-process data sources, your business data sources like Excel spreadsheets, other databases, maintenance databases, lab data, etc. So open and direct connectivity to all of your data is a key feature. Ease of use. You don't want to have to learn a new programming tool. You need a product that you can install in under an hour, and heck, even in under a half an hour, and go through some examples, watch a couple of videos, open up a demo project, for instance, and start learning very quickly and producing results quickly. And not just now forward, but being able to go back to all your old data as well and say, hey, we have these old historical log files, we have this old historian, and this is important stuff that I need to use both historically as well as moving forward. And again, optimize for industrial automation, being able to understand tag browsing and all the things which are so familiar to us in a HMI or a SCADA type system as well. And a scalable solution, something that will allow us to, again, install quickly, whether it's working with a single data source or a complete plant-wide or even enterprise-wide set of data sources, and then producing flexible or automated delivery. Some people want reports sent to them automatically. Others want to interact with their reports. Some might need to do further analysis, so they just want the data output to Excel or a CSV file for additional analysis, maybe sending it off to MATLAB or one of the other more advanced statistical analysis tools. Others just want an overview of things, so you want to have your users determine how they want to receive it, when they want to receive it, and in what format they want to receive this information. So the reasons that customers typically implement Dream Report is, first of all, is that they need information, compliance. This is so often the first pain point that we talk to customers about. We have to produce this report or set of reports, either for the government, for the local state, any kind of regulatory requirement, federal requirements, might even be a customer requirement. We will not accept this product from you unless there's a certificate of analysis, a certificate of compliance. Okay, so these are the kind of reports that help you to stay, will allow you to stay in business. Without them, you're in trouble. Okay, and so that's why customers first will implement Dream Report, or many customers at least, I shouldn't say, or I shouldn't generalize there. But very quickly they realize they have so much other data, but because traditionally reporting is difficult or has been difficult for them to do, they haven't tackled these other kind of reports they want. And so this is the kind of reporting that lets them build KPIs on their dashboards, really the kind of stuff that brings a lot more value to all the data they've already collected. I don't know if you're aware, but really most of the time, automatic KPI generation and delivery is really the best way to drive continuous improvement in an organization. It's one thing for somebody to have to go to a dashboard and slice and dice and lay things out. But if you can have automated KPIs sent out to people, So they are not looking for it, but they're notified when they get it. And then maybe a link in an email to say, okay, now go to the dashboard or go to this report if you want more information. That really is what you want to go towards. And Dream Report really makes that very easy to do. And then finally, when your numbers are off, you're trying to find out why. Okay, interactive interface for troubleshooting, tools to better understand the data, empower your users down at the user level, and really understand what's happening, find correlations, and get a better understanding of what's happening in a process. So, of course, at the end of the day, you want to drive continuous improvement. So let's talk more about Dream Report as a industrial business intelligence solution. So Dream Reports was introduced now over 10 years ago. Actually, it's been on the market since 2005. 20 plus releases over the years. So in every release, we continue to add drivers. We continue to add features and functionality. And the interesting thing, so much of Dream Report has come from folks like yourselves, distributors, end users saying, we wish there was a tool like this that could do X or Y, or it would be great if it could do this. And we have, as a small company with a single product, we've been able to be very agile and accepting of these requests and including them very quickly in the product over the years. Dream Report's localized into 14 languages. So if your native language is French or Spanish or German, whatever it is, simply click a button, everything switches in the environment to that language, or even associate that language with a different user. So you might have somebody's transferred in from another country to your plant. They prefer to work in a different language, Portuguese, switch it to that language until they log off, and the next person logged in will have it back in English or whatever their native language is, for instance. Dream Report really has been recommended and resold by more industrial companies than any other reporting product. We are branded, we're endorsed, we're resold, we're partnered with really all of the big automation vendors. There really isn't one out there who is not partnered with Dream Report as, and recognizing Dream Report as the de facto reporting standard for industrial automation. And really we really take that very seriously, because it just goes to show how important these big automation companies, and there's several smaller ones, recognize the need for a tool like Dream Report. So that's on the one side, but on the market side of things, who's using it and how they're using it? So probably our biggest market segment is water and wastewater, but it certainly doesn't end there. Food and farm is a big one. Energy management, building automation systems, just general manufacturing, whether it's food and farm, I mentioned, obviously batch reporting, but all manufacturing, discrete manufacturing, role tracking, role reporting, etc. Dream Report really is a great fit for every industry. And the interesting thing is, over the years, we found certain features have been requested by certain industries. For instance, pharmaceutical, let's say electronic signatures, a key or integral part of meeting the 21 CFR Part 11 requirement. But very quickly, we found that other industries had a need for that as well. And so a life sciences option we thought was really going to be the key target has now become quite a frequently requested feature in other industries. Or for instance, our set point analysis was originally designed for a large engine manufacturer who needed a very specific set of tests and calculations for a heat treating application. But it's interesting to see today we have customers such as medical device or bioreactor companies who actually have taken that set point module and are using it for their factory acceptance testing, and that they can show they can maintain temperatures and pressures, whatever, in their equipment. These are the criteria for passing and failing. And so they've taken a feature built for one industry and found a very applicable use for it in a completely unrelated industry. And I guess my point here is that, sure, there are vertically focused tools out there for the water and wastewater industry or energy management, but very quickly what you find with those, oh, I wish we could do this or that, and you're stuck. Or you have all this other data that could be it could bring so much more context to what their standard reports from these vertical solutions are providing, and you're stuck. A tool like Dream Report opens up all of that. We give you all of the calculations, etc., and features, and it's up to you what you want to do with it, within the bounds of some good templates and starting points that we provide. So let's take a look at just kind of a brief view of how Dream Report works and what it does along the way. The analogy I came up with immediately when I first started working with Dream Report 10 years ago was, it's a lot like working in InTouch, in HMI. Very similar concept where you create a new project, just as you would in InTouch. First thing you do is you configure your communication drivers to whatever data source. So likewise in Dream Report, where's our data coming from? Is it from an existing data archive, meaning an external process historian, SQL database, HMI log file? So in this case, the data has already been collected and stored by some system outside of Dream Report. Or are we getting real-time data directly from our PLCs or HMIs? If that's the case, we can report both on that real-time data, and if that data has not yet been logged or is not available in any historical format, Dream Report actually includes a nice little data logger that lets you use any database package you want. And then we take care of the data logging and make that data available for reporting. But it's very important for me to emphasize here is that Dream Report is not a replacement for a historian. You know, if you have a handful of tags, 50, 100 tags maybe, that you don't have a need, or maybe your customer doesn't have the budget for a full historian, we can take care of the data logging. But again, it's not designed like a Wonderware historian for large volumes of data, the data compression. I like to think of it as a really nice extra feature in Dream Report in a reporting tool that happens to have a data logger should your customer need it. Then once you've connected to your data source, you spend all your time in Dream Report Studio, which is designing and laying out your reports. The analogy here is Window Maker. This is where you've got all your graphic tools and all your wizards and everything that you would use to build your HMI screens. Instead of HMI screens, here we're building reports or dashboard screens. Then for every report, you tell Dream Report how's that report going to be generated. And we have multiple ways to generate them. They could be scheduled. I need to run a report on the last day of every month. Well, that's a checkbox option. I need to run it every 8 hours or every Sunday at 2 a.m. Just set up one or more schedules for your reports. Or it needs to be an exception report or an event-triggered report. One of the secondary benefits of being able to connect to and communicate with real-time data sources is we can also use those data sources to trigger the report. So maybe you're monitoring run hours on a pump, and you know every 500 actual run hours on that pump, a pump operations maintenance report needs to be triggered and emailed to a maintenance manager. Or there's a bit that goes high at the completion of a batch that Dream Report is looking at and then triggers a batch report for that specific reactor. So really up to you. The other interesting thing about event-driven reports is that you can take calculations on one report and trigger another. So for instance, maybe it's a shift or even a periodic every 10 minutes, an OEE type report is generated. If an OEE, say, drops below a certain value, use that calculation on one report to trigger maybe a more detailed downtime report as a consequence of that calculation on the first report. So that's automated reporting, then of course on-demand, and we have several interfaces for on-demand reporting as well. And then finally, you tell Dream Report what's the output format and the destination of your reports. Multiple output formats are supported, from graphically rich PDF to just a dump of data into CSV or Excel to a very interactive HTML5 or web report as well. And then you tell Dream Report, where's the report going? Is it a local drive? Is it posted to an FTP server? Is it saved on a network share? Does it have to be emailed as a PDF or an Excel attachment? Send it to one or more printers, and even interact with the report through a mobile device or a tablet. So that's kind of the workflow from connecting to a data source out to report generation and delivery. So again, what was one of the key features of why, or at least of why customers use Dream Report and of a world-class industrial BI tool, is access to all of your data. Okay, so Dream Report includes over 85 communication drivers. Without a doubt, our most extensive set of drivers actually are for the Wonderware products, just because we've been partnered for so long with Wonderware, and every time there's a new product from Wonderware, through a mutual agreement, we say, sure, we'll build that driver for that. But it doesn't end there, of course. There might be open source or more generic type tool devices we need to connect to, or software systems. So being able to connect to any PLC, for instance, through OPC UA, one of the enabling technologies of industrial IoT. UA is a great technology. Generic Modbus, for instance. And then even be able to go directly into things like Excel spreadsheets or CSV files as data sources, as well as, of course, SQL databases. So the key here is combining all your data, whether it's process data, lab data, maybe in a SQL database or in a CSV file coming out of some analyzer, bringing it all together and putting it into context. So I mentioned we have a lot of drivers for Wonderware products. Let's take a look at our current library of drivers. Dream Report is directly and very easily integrated with the Wonderware system platform. I like to think of two categories of drivers. The real-time drivers, so think of most of the real-time data sources you would have in a Wonderware type system, being able to go directly to traditional InTouch. So SweetLink is the communication protocol we'll use there. We can browse for tags in the InTouch HMI, go directly to the PLC, for instance, using Wonderware DA servers or OI servers. InTouch Machine Edition, again, a very nice reporting tool for a low-end HMI, and even out to the app server, being able to browse the Galaxy, behave as part of the Galaxy to generate reports directly from an application server. On the historical side, certainly Wonderware has no shortage of data logs or storage systems, from traditional InTouch historical log files to the most modern, which of course is Wonderware or Online Insight. To the alarm loggers, the historian-based alarming, of course, Wonderware Historian, even Wonderware IntelliTrack. So being able to connect into all these different systems and bring this data together in your reports. The benefit, of course, is that your customers, or you don't have to figure out how to make Dream Report work with these systems. We've done it. These are all built using drivers, either using Wonderware toolkits or exposing as much as possible of all these different Wonderware tools through our drivers. Supported and sold through the Wonderware channel. So for your end user, they are essentially buying a Wonderware product. And being one of the few endorsed Wonderware partner or technology partners, this goes through Wonderware QA testing. It's on the Wonderware price list, and it really is, for all intents and purposes, a Wonderware tool when your customers buy it. But it's not limited, of course, to just the Wonderware products. Certainly a very extensive integration with many of the other AVEVA products. Just released a new set of drivers for ClearScader. Indusoft has been using Dream Report for many years. Cytec for both Cytec SCADA, Cytec Historian, as well as many of the other Schneider products, Structureware, for instance, or Eurotherm products. So it really is a very extensive set of drivers for these products. So once you get your data, then the next thing is, what do you do with it? Okay. I always say that I'm yet to find a customer, and I truly believe this, I'm yet to find a customer that doesn't have enough data. No one has a shortage of data, but what they do have is a shortage of information. And so Dream Report really makes it easy to take this data, provide the appropriate calculations and contextualize this data, and then display it in a format that's meaning to your end user. And this has to be powerful, and it has to be easy to do. So this is a very busy slide here, but really what I wanted to get across here was, as an example, you need to come up with a totalized flow for a day or a week or whatever the time period is. So you put a single object on the report, you browse to your historian or wherever your data source is coming from, and you pick your tag. Then you tell Dream Report, what calculation do I want to do? And we're going to look in the next slide, we'll show all the different calculations available, but I need to integrate this flow meter. Well, this is being recorded, say, in gallons per minute or some other unit, and we might need to apply a correction factor. That's 1 million gallons per day, so we need to convert days to seconds. So tell Dream Report to apply a correction factor to divide by number of seconds in a day, and then integrate the data. How would we like to display the results? Is it a linear indicator? Is it a gauge? Is it a progress meter, for instance? How many decimal places? Do you want it to change color based on certain conditions? So again, these are the kind of the steps. No one is programming this. These are all optimized for industrial type reporting. I mean, I just can't imagine you'd see some of these type of things in, say, a business type tool like Reporting Services or Crystal Reports. Let's take another example. I need to create a bar chart, number of alarms on a daily basis for the last week. Well, sure, there's a million tools out there that can do bar charts, but how many of them say, base my bar chart on a count of a number of alarms recorded by day for this alarm filter or this alarm group? Okay, so those are the kind of things that Dream Report is really going to make your life easier, or your end users' lives easier, because we know the kind of reports that they are probably going to want to build, or the content on those reports, and so we make these tools ready to go to help them very quickly get to the end goal. So I showed you on the previous slide doing an integral. We have probably 57, I don't know, I think with the SPC add-ons, probably about 70 plus built-in statistical functions in Dream Report. And these all range from the, the expected, the mins, the maxes, the average, standard deviation. But then we very quickly go deeper. We understand the concept of meters or counters and rollovers. Okay, so I have to do a daily energy or water usage report, and I've got these meters. Does that meter roll over? When does it roll over? We'll use a counter calculation. Or for instance, I need to do a up and down time report. Well, the historian just might be logging raw data and pump statuses, for instance, but I want to know how many times did that pump stop or start, what percentage of time it was running, what was my batch start time, my end time, and my duration. And so again, the list goes on. All of these optimized for very specific type of calculations and reports. And of course, you can build your own expressions and use them and reuse them throughout a project, but these are the ones that are out of the box, ready to go to help you make sense of all your data. Let's think of an example here. I want to know what my maximum flow was in the last day. Did it exceed a certain critical flow rate? And once I find that, I need to know the status of my pumps. What are my pumps doing for the hour leading up and maybe 15 minutes after we hit that maximum flow? Very easy. Pop on the screen, give me the timestamp of the maximum value for that flow tag, the condition where the flow rate, say, exceeded 100 gallons per minute. So the return of that is going to give me the timestamp. Then simply put on the screen timestamp minus 1 hour or timestamp plus 15 minutes, and then put another table, for instance, status of all my pumps, with the time period not being the last 15 minutes, but what we call a calculator that points to the two time minus 1 hour, time plus 15 minutes. So very quickly, you've taken from when did that maximum flow occur, and then show me a bunch of other information that helps me understand why that max flow occurred leading up to and just after, or maybe show me the alarms during that period, or whatever it is you want to do. And another example. I love the screen because it's, first of all, it's a pretty screen, nice colors, and who is this useful for? So, and again, I'm not saying this is not useful, but maybe you've got a operators trying to fine tune a process and they're looking at things stopping and starting or pump stopping and starting. But really, how much does this tell you? Well, it tells me, one, that this first pump seems to start very quickly, start and stop very quickly. Most of the time it's doing nothing. This last pump over here seems to have the same number of starts and stops, but that really isn't telling me too much. But what if we would take these 6 or 8 discrete tags from my historian or pumps and show them this way in the exact same time period, which was a 4-hour time period, 10:30 to 2:30. In that time, for those 6 pumps, how many times did each of those pumps start and stop? How much time was spent running or pumping product, and how much was stop time? What percent did we actually utilize those pumps? And extrapolate this to anything, production lines, motor usage, whatever it is you want to look at. This, to me, now is very meaningful. It's very actionable. This pump is completely being underutilized. What was the reason for it? Well, then we might put a hyperlink on here to drill down further. How much effort did it take to put all of this together? I didn't spend time counting amount of times on and off and the intervals for stop time and run time and getting my total percentage. No, what I did was this. I went to our automatic statistic table. I browsed my historian to my appropriate folder in my historian namespace, my public namespace for the tags I wanted. I set the time period to be the last 4 hours, and I said, show me on and off counters, running time, downtime, and availability. And that was that. This took no more than 5 minutes, including formatting, to put this report together. And this is really what I'm trying to drive home here, is the ability to contextualize this data and put it in a format that different users can take different actions on based on how you're presenting the information to them. So this is all based around process data. Maybe it's alarm analytics. Dream Report has a lot of functionality specifically for alarm reporting, whether it's a dedicated alarm table, whether it's bar charts or pie charts with breakdowns by different alarm types. Maybe you've got an initiative for advanced alarm analysis supporting the ISA 18.2 requirements for understand how your alarms are occurring, why, what are the root causes of different things. Dream Report's a great tool for that. maybe we put a hyperlink here and then bring up and go deeper and show me, okay, process data relating to an alarm. Or conversely, looking at a high or low value on a dashboard, bring me the detailed alarm information relating to that. Highlight alarms based on stale alarms, those kind of things. So again, drawing your attention to the information that's important and suppressing the noise in the data, to allowing you to much more quickly land up at the end goal, which is driving that continuous improvement, reducing your maintenance or downtimes, etc. All right, so we've talked about report delivery, PDFs, static reports. That's most of the compliance reports are going to be in that format. But really, you want to enable your team, any user at any time, to actually interact with the system. And the great way to do that is using the Dream Report portal. This gives you secured browser and mobile access into your Dream Report reports and dashboards. The layout of it is actually, we detect where the request is coming in, and we actually have two flavors of the portal. One designed and optimized for a mobile, finger-driven environment. The other one, of course, for any desktop, modern generation desktop browser. As I said, it is secured, and we'll talk more about security in an upcoming slide. But once you're in, what can you do with with the Dream Report web portal? First of all, any reports that are automatically scheduled to generate, whether they're daily, weekly, triggered automatically at the end of a batch, Dream Report delivers those documents through the web portal. So think of it almost as a document delivery interface. We maintain a history of the reports. So every time a batch report generates, we'll maintain it and we'll create subfolders by month and year, and you can go in and pick a specific report, and you don't have to wait for that report to generate again because we're delivering the document to you. That's already been generated and we've saved it. Or maybe it's a monthly operating report and I want to look at November 2016's monthly operating report. Maybe I don't even have that data in my historian anymore, but if I'm maintaining a history of the reports in Dream Report, I would simply click on the 2016 folder, November 2016, and bring up that report instantly. It might be on demand, where somebody wants to put their own time period in. I don't want to generate for the last batch, but generate this report for batches 105 through 108 and generate the report on demand. Or choosing a different time period. Let's say instead of doing a daily report, I want it for the week to date. We can then use this report, the web portal, not necessarily just for looking at existing reports, but also to generate reports, but to now look at interactive dashboards. So this is more of a kind of a dashboard view of things versus the previous slide, which was just more of a static report. And this dashboard can be set to automatically refresh periodically, maybe regenerate the calculations every 15 minutes, and any live data maybe update every 10 seconds. Or somebody sees an anomaly over here, some particularly low number. Why was it low? We'll click on it, and up pops the raw data behind that calculation. Or show me a quick chart of the data behind that calculation over whatever time period I'm looking at here. Save it off to a CSV. I need to analyze this further. I need to send it to the folks in quality to take a look at. Okay, so that's taking a dashboard kind of as a springboard, and then either digging deep into values on the screen, or even putting hyperlinks to drill down into subsequent reports. And then completely building your own ad hoc screens. And this is very nice because this allows us to create screens which are just a nice tool for our engineers or operators to go and get data from any data source. Okay, so we're not locked into using a trend tool for this company's historian or a query tool for that company's data logger. This can be a common interface where you simply pick your data source that you've selected, whether it's your InTouch historical log files, your Wonderware Online Insight, or a SQL database. Choose your time period, we provide you or display all the tags, and then using a common, let's say we've made here a simple chart and some key calculations or KPI statistics, let the user pick what they want to look at, generate the report or generate the results, again, save it off, do whatever they want. But a very nice way to use Dream Report as a common ad hoc interface to all of your possible data sources that you're working with. I mentioned earlier on that Dream Report, the web portal, is a secured web interface. It doesn't end just at the web portal. This really extends to all the components of Dream Report. So we have a very solid user management or user security set of features in Dream Report. First of all, it integrates with your Windows security, both at the user and the user group level, or you can set up local users in Dream Report. We support both. This security extends across all the reports and all the modules of Dream Report. So for instance, you set up a specific user or a Windows user group, and let's say these folks have access to the Designer Studio. They cannot stop or shut down the runtime engine, but they can generate reports. They can get into the web portal. They can dynamically generate, but they cannot mess with our data configuration. So these might be power developers, but not the overall system administrators. Then which reports can they get to? Which report, for instance, is their default report? So maybe this is plant supervisors. Whenever they log into the web portal, it'll take them directly to the shift report versus a maintenance person. When they log in, you might set their default report be to a downtime or a maintenance type report. Okay. And again, this is at the user or the user group level. I mentioned earlier on language switching by user or user group. This is, again, can be enforced all through the user management subsystem. Version control, very important in many of the industries that we service, especially pharmaceuticals, life sciences. Being able to keep track of versions of your either the report or the whole project, have a certified version, and let's say somebody makes a change and they shouldn't have, and somebody reviews a report later on and sees the version ID is not what was signed off on during the qualification testing or validation. We need to roll back to that certified version. Tell Dream Report what you want to do, either at the report level or the project level, and go back to that certified version. Audit trail recording at runtime. Who's doing what? Who's manually entering data through the Dream Report web portal? Did they have a failed login? For 21 CFR Part 11 compliance, keeping track of all of that is very important. And even the ability to require electronic signatures on a report. Okay, associate who's allowed to sign reports. Can they add a comment when they sign the document? Again, these are features which are critical to so many industries out there that other reporting packages, the concept of these doesn't even exist in them. All standard functionality in Dream Report. Okay, to wrap up here, before we take some questions, licensing. As just looking at who is registered today on the webinar, we have a good mix of systems integrators as well as distributors. So it's important to know how Dream Report is licensed. It's a pretty simple licensing model. When you purchase Dream Report, the product is licensed first of all by tag count and then optionally by additional web clients. So when you create a project in Dream Report, think of a project like an InTouch HMI application. Any number of reports can be created in this project as long as the number of tags licensed is not exceeded. So what is a tag in Dream Report? It's any external item that Dream Report references in a project. So it could be a historian tag, it could be a tag in your PLC, or an InTouch tag, or an app server attribute that you might want to reference in Dream Report. It's an external entity, so if you come up with a calculated tag in Dream Report, that's your own calculation, it's not going to add to the tag count. It has to come from an external system. If you're working with a SQL database, for instance, any SQL field that you reference is counted as a tag, but not alarm tags. If you're using any of our alarm drivers, we don't count alarms as tags. So whether you get back 2 alarms in a day or 2,000 alarms, it doesn't matter. It's not going to affect your tag count when working with an alarm data source. And once you've exposed a tag through a specific data source, it's only counted once. No matter how many times you use it in a project, it's not going to be counted again. Okay. So that's the core tag-based licensing. Now I mentioned about the web clients. So I mentioned again, all right, so you specify your tag count. That gives you both access to Development Studio and the runtime engine. The web portal clients, these are concurrent user licenses which give access to the web portal. The web portal is always included with Dream Report, and we always include at least one web client. So everyone can use this web portal without having to buy additional licenses, because we always include one web client. The bigger tag count licenses include additional web clients, 2 or 5 or unlimited tags include 15 web clients, but you can add, say, a 10-pack or a 5-pack of concurrent users to whatever you already get with Dream Report. And then there are some additional add-on modules. I won't go through all of them in detail. We actually have specific videos for these on our web portal explaining most of these. But for life sciences, if you need SPC functionality, or if you want to have multiple remote developers working simultaneously in Dream Report, we have additional development seats. Again, you always get one development seat with Dream Report, but you can add on. So that's when you're speccing Dream Report or quoting it. This is something you should consider. Important to understand the architecture of how your customer wants to implement Dream Report, and then choose the appropriate options if needed. And then, of course, annual maintenance and support, giving them access to tech support, as well as, of course, version upgrades. And if you're selling this as a Wonderware distributor, this all gets rolled into the Wonderware Customer First support. All right, so what are your next steps? I've told you what Dream Report is all about and the value it brings to your customers. How do you get it into the hands of your customers? Well, first of all, they can download Dream Report either from the Wonderware Product Hub, the download site from Wonderware, or directly from the Ocean Data Systems, dreamreport.com, our website. This will download a fully functional, full version of Dream Report. Without any license or any demo license installed, it will run for 30 minutes at a time. I mean, you can spend as much time as you want in development, but the runtime engine will time out after 30 minutes without having to restart. And it'll give you 100 tags as well to work with. So a good way to get your feet wet. But if anyone wants to actually put Dream Report through its paces, I want to schedule daily reports or weekly reports, that 30-minute timeout's not going to cut it. So after all these years of mentioning this, a lot of distributors or sales folks still don't know this. The Wonderware 30-day license, the orchestra.lic file or LIC file, includes a full-featured Dream Report license. I believe it's 1,000 tags. We include all the drivers, so not just the Wonderware drivers, but every driver and all the add-on options. So you can always provide your customers a 30-day license. If they need to test it out for longer, certainly please contact us or contact me. We'll give you a 60 or a 90-day license, up to 90 days if needed. We're here to support the channel, whether it's the SIs or the distributors. There's a couple of us in the US, there's folks in the Middle East and Europe. We are here to support the channel. So please, if you need to talk about an application, or if you would like us to be involved with a webinar for a customer, or even internal sales training or technical training, we are your resources. We've worked so closely with Wonderware over the years and the associated channel that we are here to help you be successful with Dream Report. Because really, Dream Report is a natural addition to every system platform quote that goes out there. I'm yet to find a system where it doesn't make sense to have reporting included as part of the solution. And by the way, I should have mentioned this earlier, Dream Report is not mutually exclusive from Historian Client or the Insight tool set. Those are fantastic tools for hitting Historian, for digging in, analyzing the data. Dream Report can be the reporting complement to the analytics side of those tools. And we have so many customers who are using both. Okay, so it's not one or the other, it's both that makes sense in pretty much every system that can go out there. Support, well, as an endorsed partner product, you guys should be doing support. All the distributors should have people trained on support. If you have new tech support people who need to be trained, please contact me, I will get them trained. Since level 1 support is handled through the distributors, but certainly contact support@dreamreport.com and our folks will help as well. But we take level 2 and we'll work with you to help you successfully troubleshoot and support your customers. Learning Dream Report, lots of ways to learn. We have a very extensive set of YouTube videos and also on our website, just go to video learning, and it's broken down by general features, product features, how-tos, and then also broken down by different partner products, how to use it with Wonderware Historian or with Indisoft or whatever product you happen to be using with. We have a getting started guide. We've actually just extended we have a new dedicated tech support knowledge base. So if you click up here, it'll take you there. Adding FAQs, training classes. Again, distributors should be doing training. We'd love to see more of those on your schedules, but if not, talk to me or talk to us. We will get training classes scheduled. And the last thing, there's nothing like our customers talking about why Dream Report's important to them and what value it's brought to them. So on our website, we have a pretty extensive list of customer success stories, really, and not just highlighting the importance to that specific industry, but highlighting the value it brought to them. And I'm sure for your customers, when they see, okay, you know, we did have regulatory requirements, or we do have a continuous improvement initiative, let's see how somebody else did that, or what success did they get. But really, we never have enough of these. And so please let us know about your customer successes. We'd love to put together success stories, video success stories. And even we've just put up a bunch of testimonials from various salespeople, partner companies, why they like using or selling Dream Report. They're all on our website. So to wrap up, over 10 years ago, Dream Report pioneered the really user-friendly industrial report generation. We've really become the leading solution for industrial reports and dashboarding, ad hoc. Dashboarding is an area we will continue to focus on. That's the natural next step for Dream Report. We really have done so much with reporting. And so I'd like to say to you guys and to your customers, shouldn't Dream Report be your industrial reporting and analytics solution? It really works well. If you're a systems integrator, it can work with other automation platforms. As a distributor, it helps you get into competitive accounts because it's not just locked into Wonderware. So it really is a solution that everybody benefits from. So thank you very much for your time. Hopefully you've seen the real value in Dream Report and some of the key features. We have time now for some questions. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to actually go through a technical demo. I'm happy to schedule those for anyone afterwards, or if you'd look at the videos. But let's take a look at some of the questions that came in and how I can answer them.
Okay, there's a couple that have come in, and I encourage everyone to enter any questions you have, or you can also contact Richard after the webinar. The first one is from Mike Watson. Does the product have any ready-to-go MES reports? Okay,
good question. So MES is an interesting one because the MES database can be pretty open-ended depending on how you're using, and I'm assuming you're talking about Wonderware MES or Wonderware Operations. So the answer is no, we don't have out-of-the-box MES reports, but what we do for Wonderware MES, but what we do include in the Dream Report demo project is a set of what we've called MES reports, production and related quality and kind of traceability type reports. A little history on those reports. Those reports are built from a large multinational food and bev company who is using Wonderware Intelligence on top of Wonderware MES. But this company, and very smartly, did not want anyone to do reporting directly against MES. That MES is a very active database. They wanted to keep it separate. So they used Intelligence as the way to aggregate and create a big data store. And they chose to use Dream Report as the reporting tool on top of that data. So the examples we're showing in there were actually, again, built against the Intelligence database. We, as a demo project, we've just kind of taken those key views or tables and popped them into an Access database. It's much easier to distribute. But when you install Dream Report, you will see an MES folder with a few example reports there. Okay, licensing. If I need a historical report for one specific tag for the last 4 hours, it still counts as only one tag, correct. So once you've used a tag, it's one tag. And let's say even take a pump or a machine status. I need to get running time, downtime, availability, and number of starts. Counts as one tag, even though I might have used it for 5 completely different calculations. Does the Dream Report web portal require IAS? Yes, very good question. In fact, that was on my notes to mention. I missed that when I did introduce the web portal. Yes, so the web portal is based around IAS. There are a set of features in IAS that need to be turned on. Obviously, it's a free web server from Microsoft. And once you install Dream Report, you click one button when you create your project that says Configure IAS, and it builds you the website. No web development knowledge needed by the Dream Report user. Does it support PostgreSQL SQL? Great question. The question is, where are we talking about that? Is it for the internal database that Dream Report is logging to, or is it an existing PostgreSQL SQL database that you want to report against? If there is an ODBC connector for that, the answer is yes. We just have to make sure, of course, that there is an ODBC or an OLADB connector. Certainly, I have to check if it's one of the supported logging databases. I know we support MySQL, SQL Server, Oracle, Access, SQL Express. I have to check. I know at one point we did, and I just need to see if that's still valid. But Mohammed, I will, if you can just send me an email just send an email to, actually just send it to support@dreamreport.com. I'll get it and I'll respond with a follow-up there. Any other questions that we have?
No, that's the only ones. And I encourage everyone to use that support at Dream Report and if you have additional questions. So just to wrap up, thank you very much, Richard. That was a very comprehensive coverage of Dream Report. All registrants will receive an email providing a link to a zip file which is posted on Team AVEVA, and that will provide you with the recording, the PowerPoint as a PDF, and any additional materials that Ocean Data provide as well. So look out for that. I will be sending that out on Friday. And so you expect that, and it will also include instructions. If you don't have an account with the team, there's a link to do that, and then you will have access. And this is by individual contact with the company that you are registered with. So thank you very much, everyone, for attending the webinar. We appreciate you taking the time out of your day, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you all for your time. Bye-bye.